Hello, we're back again with 4 Quarters with Coach Mark Mandell. Topics today, the holiday and drinking and driving. Coach, Wednesday before Thanksgiving is historically a time people get together, often at bars. What about when that happens around the holidays? What should I expect if I get pulled over?
Paul, that's a great question. And, you don't need to look at the statistics, but obviously the rate of drinking and driving increases over the holidays. And so starting usually on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, leading through Thanksgiving, and all the way through Christmas, New Year's Eve, you see a higher rate of drinking and driving. So to answer your question specifically, if you get pulled over and it's your first offense, there's a range of charges you could be charged with. If you were in an accident and you caused serious injury to somebody else, that's a felony. That's called felony drunk driving causing serious impairment of bodily function. Number 2, if your blood alcohol level is above a 0.17, that's often referred to now as super drunk. You could be charged with super drunk. The penalties associated with that, the fines, the costs, pretty severe. Number 3, you could be charged with what's commonly known as OWI, operating while intoxicated. That would be having a blood alcohol level above a 0.08 or higher. Or lastly, often heard, operating while impaired.
Coach, what if this is not my first time being charged with a drinking and driving offense?
The first thing I would do then, Paul, is definitely call an attorney. You could always reach me, Mark Mandell, here at Fausone, Bohn, located in Northville, Michigan. A second offense within 7 years, all right, regardless of what type of drunk driving it is called an OWI second offense. And the penalties, the driving sanctions, everything associated with that is severely higher than any type of first offense. And most importantly, you could be facing a 1-year suspension of your driving privileges.
Coach, I know that one of the possibilities is that you could lose or have your license suspended. Is that true?
It is, Paul. And that's a very important issue for everybody. You know, when people come to me, they're often worried about jail, and that's definitely a legitimate concern. But if you don't have a driver's license and you're a father or a mother, parent, or younger and trying to get to work, no wheels, no employment. So here's the basic general principle of that. If you're charged with what is also often commonly known as super drunk, you're facing a 45-day hard suspension, all right, and then a 1-year alcohol ignition interlock on your car. Number 2, if you're charged with the general operating while intoxicated, you're facing a 30-day hard suspension and then 6-month restricted driving privileges. Then finally, if you're facing an operating while impaired, you're facing 90-day restricted driver's license to and from during the course of employment. And Paul, there's something that we had mentioned off the air before we started doing this video. 20 years ago when I started practicing, the judges used to handle the driving sanctions. Now it's all mandated by the Secretary of State.
Well, Coach, I've been told by some folks just then not to blow when requested. Is that good advice?
You know, Paul, that's one of those tricky questions that I'm not going to tell you whether you should blow or whether you should not blow, but I'm going to tell you what the process is and what happens if you don't blow. When you're pulled over, often the police officer is going to give you what's called a handheld portable PBT test. It's a small little machine. If they suspect that you've been drinking and driving, they're going to have you blow into it. If you refuse to take that, it's a civil infraction. Nothing is affected with your driver's license, but there is a fine associated with that. The more important question is what happens if they take you to the police station and then ask you to take the test at the station. A lot of barroom lawyers, meaning people that aren't lawyers, will talk about urban legends of like, I didn't take the test, so if I don't take the test, they don't know what my blood alcohol level is. Here's the thing. In Michigan, just anywhere across the country, a driver's license is a privilege, not a right. And that's called the implied consent. All right, so if you don't take that test at the station, you're facing a 1-year suspension of your driving privileges, period. And then most importantly, Paul, if you don't take that test with modern day technology, that police officer is going to get a search warrant emailed to a judge who's on call at that time, and within 5 minutes of you refusing to take that test, they're going to take you to a hospital and draw blood. And guess what? As a result of not taking that test, doesn't matter what I can do for you as it relates to the criminal court, you're going to lose your license for one year unless you ask for a hardship appeal.
Coach, I know folks that have been in that situation and they've refused to blow. They've got that warrant has been issued, just like you said. Their blood's been drawn and they're facing a loss of their license. What can you do, if anything, to help? What is the hardship issue you mentioned?
All right, that's a hardship appeal. So you're really at that point facing two separate issues. In the criminal court, whatever you've been charged with, those are the driving sanctions you could be dealing with. But because you did not take the test, regardless of what normally you'd be eligible for in the criminal court, you have now lost your license for 1 year. So in order to get that license back, it's called a hardship appeal. To do a hardship appeal, you have to go to a circuit court. All right, separate of any criminal court, you're going to go to the circuit court, and there's many things that you have to follow as it relates to a hardship appeal. You have to get a substance abuse evaluation. You need a lawyer to write a brief requesting a hardship appeal. And ultimately, you take the case to a circuit court and tell the judge you made a terrible mistake by not taking the test. They review your substance abuse evaluation, because if they think you have a serious drinking problem, they may not give you the license back. That's why you need a lawyer for a hardship, so you can get your license during the whole pendency of your criminal matter and probation.
So, Coach, I know your football season is wrapped up here, and I know your guys really worked hard and had a great season. Is there anything you want to give a shout out to or say about your football season?
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I was just privileged to be able to be out there with the kids. I was so thankful that the kids got an opportunity to play football this year. As you know, just most recently on last week, the governor came out with an order. My heart goes out to those remaining teams that had 3 weeks left of playoffs. And I pray for those kids. Hopefully the season will start up and they could declare a state champion. As it relates to Northville, I do know this. Almost everybody predicted us to be at the bottom of the division. We ended up being second in our division, won a playoff game, ended up playing Belleville, which is the #1 team in the state of Michigan. Our kids fought real hard in that game. It was a tremendous season, and again, with all of this COVID that happened, I'm just thankful, and I know the kids are thankful that we're able to play football this year.
Thanks, Coach Mandell. This is Paul Bohn at Fausone Bohn, wrapping up with 4 quarters with Coach Mark Mandell.